In response to an overture asking for a review of the standard ordination examinations, the 220th General Assembly created this special committee to review the overall process of preparing teaching elders for service to the 21st century church and the place of examinations within that process. 5 things provide the core of a teaching elder's preparation. 2 years of discernment with one's session and presbytery regarding the individual's gifts and call. Evidence of wisdom and maturity of faith, leadership skills, compassionate spirit, honest repute, and sound judgment. Graduation from college or university to develop a broad view of the world. A graduate theological degree, including study of Hebrew and Greek. And satisfactory evaluations on ordination exams in the areas of Bible content and exegesis, church polity, theological competence, and worship and sacraments. Although at times in the past the Book of Order has listed many more specific requirements, it is currently the responsibility of each presbytery to work with those under its care to form covenants that will enable them to make sound decisions about suitability for ordered ministry and to develop their gifts so that they are ready to begin that ministry. But American society has changed a lot since the early 1980s, when the basic structures of the current preparation for ministry process were created at the reunion of the Presbyterian denominations to form the Presbyterian Church USA. Most of us are aware the proportion of persons belonging to any particular racial ethnic classification is shifting, such that there will eventually no longer be any demographic group that comprises a majority within the country, already a present reality in some communities. Changing patterns of immigration with increases among Asian and Hispanic immigrants and decreases among Europeans. Differential birth rates with higher birth rates among recent immigrants as compared to U.S. residents across all racial ethnic categories, and a rising rate of interracial marriages resulting in increases in multiracial children are challenging existing conceptions of race and ethnicity. Educational patterns are also changing. Although men and women currently earn advanced professional and doctoral degrees in approximately equal numbers, that trend will not likely continue, as women are earning many more undergraduate and master's degrees. All of these changes are transforming the composition of teaching elders within the Presbyterian Church USA, although the full impact may not be fully apparent scanning a General Assembly hall or your average presbytery meeting. One reason is because so many of our teaching elders come from an earlier generation of American society. Roughly 4 of every 10 teaching elders in our church are over the traditional retirement age of 65. This cohort among teaching elders is overwhelmingly male and also less diverse by other measures than their colleagues. Comparing all of our teaching elders, including those who have retired, with only those who currently have active status, shows that the diversity among our teaching elders has already been increasing. But when our recent inquirers and candidates are compared to that same group of our currently serving teaching elders, it is clear that our future teaching elders will be very different than their predecessors. But today's inquirers and candidates differ more than just demographically from our current teaching elders. A typical teaching elder in past generations was a cradle Presbyterian. Having been baptized as an infant and formed by a congregation, neither their pastor nor session was surprised to hear of their call. Engaged with the presbytery in deciding where to enter seminary, they easily coordinated the church and academic requirements. Upon graduation, they were ordained to their first call as either an associate or small church pastor. More typical today are those who may have little past in the church generally, Awakened to the spiritual life well after college, they enter a nearby seminary and only then consider the possibility of vocational service in the church, and learn there is a Presbyterian church process other than simply seminary graduation. As graduation approaches, they begin to consider the practical realities of a call to pastoral ministry on their families, where they might live, and their finances. Or consider some who are in our immigrant communities. They may have been involved in ministries in Reformed churches abroad, but perhaps in orders of ministry not part of our Book of Order. Already recognized as spiritual leaders within their communities, they are trying to decide whether and how to navigate a multi-year discernment and educational process while continuing to share in the ministry of those communities. Our churches are changing as well. Over roughly the past 25 years, our number of churches has declined, but our membership has declined at a faster rate. It is hardly surprising then that the median membership of our churches has declined, and the percentage of congregations with fewer than 100 members has increased. These trends suggest there will be an increasing number of smaller churches, a declining number of mid-sized churches, and larger churches may continue steady for a while because they can lose more members before becoming mid-size or small. But this is just the arithmetic. Broader cultural forces pushing toward niche markets and away from big box markets are also influencing this trend. This data describes something of the context in which our presbyteries engage with inquirers and candidates to discern their suitability, fitness, and readiness for the ordered ministry of a teaching elder. But we think it is important for you to hear directly, as we did, from those who are currently under care in the process.
Greetings, Commissioners. On behalf of my fellow colleagues in the ordination process, we are asking for your help. You've just seen information about the changing demographics of our church. Because our cultural context is changing, we need even greater participation of racial ethnic teaching and ruling elders at all levels of the preparation for ministry process, especially those who write and evaluate the mandatory exams. Having varied voices around the table bears witness to the rich diversity of the church's membership. We need presbyteries to consider the exams as one means to assess readiness, but also to consider that alternative methods can be developed to evaluate a candidate's preparation. This is crucial for those who may need particular accommodations in order to demonstrate their readiness. Finally, passing the standard exams does not address the real-world possibilities of bivocational or part-time ministry. There are fewer full-time positions and a greater expectation by the church that seminary graduates become tent makers. This expectation has to become part of the process of preparation. We thank you for your support and for your consideration of the recommendations in this report.
Having surveyed these landscapes of the church at large and the experiences of those currently in the preparation process, our committee sought the wisdom of the Spirit in prayer, research, and conversation. Out of this process, we offer to you 12 recommendations that can be found in PC Biz as business item 0612. Our hope is to encourage the church to honor 4 aspects of the inheritance we have received: the reality of the current needs of the church, the flexibility needed for the task of preparation, the variety of gifts, situations, and possibilities with which we have been blessed, and the creativity that reflects God's image in us and that is necessary to respond to particular challenges. Certain realities face the church as she prepares leaders for tomorrow. Our presbyteries are called to cultivate the readiness of candidates for service in the whole church. They are to use any tools available to achieve this goal. Changing demographics invalidate old assumptions about what will be needed for a particular teaching elder's ministry. In assessing persons under care, we must recognize that cultural neutrality is impossible. We must take this reality into account by making all aspects of the process as cross-culturally accessible as possible. Another reality is that the financial resources of the church are changing. This change requires that we prepare inquirers and candidates for new models of ministry and compensation. In the face of these realities, however, we trust the reality of the Spirit's power is greater than any limitations we perceive in our human abilities. Our recommendations call attention to the flexibility required of presbyteries for the preparation process. We must broaden the depth of resources available to students, committees, and exam readers. We recommend that the committee of the church that develops the ordination exams to assess readiness include formats and protocols beyond simply timed essays. Furthermore, we recommend that presbyteries be more ready to accommodate the particular circumstances of persons under their care with respect to the standard exams, when prayerful discernment reveals that is required. Presbytery committees overseeing the preparation process will have to stretch their understanding of that process beyond checking boxes on a list of tasks for inquirers and candidates. They may require a new openness to consider forms of ministry tailored to both the gifts of the person under care and the context in which we serve. We know that flexibility can be difficult in a church culture that values order and structure. We also trust that the Spirit will make us limber with grace. We affirm that the Lord has blessed the church with a rich variety of cultures, heritages, and voices. The table at which we sit and are fed by the presence of Christ is ringed with various colors, languages, gifts, skills, and visions for the future of the church. Even within what may seem at first blush to be a uniform culture, individual persons under care may learn differently or express themselves in unique ways. The Reformed theological heritage has room for the full variety of saints who have been called to serve in it. Our preparation process must reflect this hospitality and our responsibility to empower all those called to ministry. The body of Christ is composed of many different parts, each of them unique. We trust that the Spirit of Christ will enable us to evaluate and equip all those called to ordered ministry. We affirm that our membership is in the household of the God who created all that is. As children growing into the character of our Creator, we are called to creativity in our endeavors. Presbyteries are engaging new expressions of faith communities and persons under care, coming from cultural settings different from past norms. They must therefore be free to use innovative approaches in assessing suitability and readiness for ministry as a teaching elder. Creativity is enabled by access to numerous and various resources. So we recommend using current technologies to create a readily accessible collection of procedures already invented by our colleagues. Thus, presbyteries can have at their fingertips the wisdom of others who have previously encountered similar challenges. Presbyteries must take up with boldness their responsibility to seek the will of God for persons under their care by whatever means are available to them. They must not limit themselves to common denominators that may have been assumed across the church in the past. We trust that our God spun the universe in all its glory and wonder, knit our persons together in the womb, and continues to mesmerize us with the intricacies of creation. This same God will empower us to think creatively about raising up leaders for the next generation of the church. With the reality of the church in mind, we bring to you our recommendations for flexibility, variety, and creativity in the preparation process for teaching elders. We offer them in a spirit of faith in the God who creates, calls, and equips, We do so in a spirit of hope that God will prepare among us and through us the leaders needed for the next stage of our sojourn. And we do so in a spirit of love for Jesus Christ, His church, and her mission in the world.